The Orcs and Goblins are a warlike and barbaric race, more akin to beasts than men. Despite their wild and savage nature, the Greenskins should not be underestimated, as their weapons and tactics, though crude and simplistic, are brutally effective nonetheless. Their urges are simple: to fight and inflict pain and suffering on others, even others of their own kind. It is this insatiable desire to wage war, burn and pillage that makes the Orcs and Goblin tribes such a menace to the other races. They cannot be reasoned with, dissuaded or parleyed with, only defeated in battle or fled from. The Orc and Goblin playstyle can be summed up very easily: fun, unpredictable and hilarious. The Orc and Goblin books have always been known to be exceptionally unreliable through their randomness. Their ability to overcome huge odds but absolutely fail in surefire situations means that to play the Orcs and Goblins, you need to have a desire to have fun rather than to be competitive. This often unreliable book means that the Orcs and Goblins are often left on the shelf when it comes to serious tournament goers. So let's take a look at some of the advantages the new Orc and Goblin book has to offer. The Orc and Goblin heroes, whilst not always the greatest, are certainly amongst the cheapest available. A lack of shiny stuff and magic items in the new book may detract from their potential utility in comparison to other books, but some of the items available are crazy good and potentially game changing. There are even Goblin special characters that are around 100 points. They can do a few cool things which make them pretty practical. The new book also has some cool rare choices. The Snotling Pump Wagon appears to be a super mega chocolatey fudge death on green wheels with upgrades, allowing it to fly over terrain and ignore armor saves on the first impact with 2d6 strength 5 hits. Ragnarok the Giant Spider, whilst not a face roll cheesed out monster, and by no means cheap, is a strong and interesting choice. The Venom Surge special rule means picking out heroes and units or champions is a cinch. Whilst not always reliable, it's certainly cool to have around. Just be sure to keep them away from heavy armoured and high toughness units. The army-wide Chopper special rule grants +1 to strength in the first round of combat to all who have the special rule. This adds a bit of extra grunt to the bog standard orcs. The addition of immune to psychology for all Black Orc models is also quite an improvement and provides a dead hard centre for all Orc players. There's a lot of controversy within the magic side of things in the new Orc and Goblin book, so for this reason I'll place it as an advantage and a disadvantage. The big warg can be upgraded in strength, and the little warg can steal dispel dice on a 5+, which is pretty cool. The Foot of Gorg spell is still insane, so don't worry, but there has been a complete retraction of the warg spell. On first glance, the spells available don't look that impressive, so upgrades are necessary. However, this can be a bit of a gamble that might not pay off. For these reasons, I'm kinda undecided as to the practical utility of Orc and Goblin magic. I guess this segues us onto the disadvantages of the Orc and Goblin army. For the most part, the main disadvantage is the defining characteristic of the Orc and Goblins, being the unpredictability of the list. While this makes for often hilarious gameplay, it's not exactly the most tactically sound of ideas. Army-wide low initiative and leadership, in an addition that makes these characteristics hugely important, means that the Orcs and Goblins are often at a disadvantage. Not to mention the Purple Sun spell and the potential destruction caused from that, if you know what I mean. Command groups are exceptionally expensive in an effort to force the fluff into the rules. This is a serious deadweight on the Orcs and Goblins, crippling any potential reliability from occurring. I guess the best way to describe the aesthetics of the Orcs and Goblins is to call it a sea of green. If you are partial to green, then leave now, man. I mean, like, you know, it's simple as that. Orcs and Goblins are very much a horde army, capable of easily putting hundreds of minis on the table, the majority of which they'll be green. However, Stone Trolls, Giants, Ragnarok, and some character mounts provide a much needed break from this ridiculous infestation of green. The overall appearance of Orcs and Goblins is a rabble, essentially, almost in a comical sense. Daggy clothing, clutter, and a general makeshift slap-happy appearance is what the Orcs and Goblins are famous for. They really provide a great alternative to the very clean and pristine looking armies available. So guys, hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight into choosing your next Warhammer Fantasy Army. See you in the next vid.